The reaction right now to the Mueller report. Overnight, President Trump claims total vindication after special counsel Robert Mueller finds no one in his campaign conspired with Russia, according to a summary from the Attorney General.
America is the greatest place on earth.
But the report stops short of clearing the president on obstruction of justice. Republicans call it case closed. Democrats demanding the full report be released immediately. Our ABC News team here and in Washington and the president's lawyer all join us this morning.
Also this morning, more than 1,300 people thankful to be alive after this cruise ship nightmare. Facing engine failure in the middle of the sea, pummeled by 26-foot waves, water flooding the ship. Now, new video of those dramatic helicopter rescues. Hundreds airlifted to safety. One of those very lucky passengers joins us live.
Heading to court. A dozen coaches and key defendants caught in the center of that college cheating scandal. Now hours away from facing a judge. And the mystery this morning, who shelled out $6.5 million to get their child into college.
Robert Kraft, what the Patriots owner is now saying about that prostitution scandal as he fights to keep the tape from being released.
And barely staying alive. Top-seeded Duke's nail-biting close call, just making it to the Sweet 16 overnight. The last-second play and the emotional moment off the court.
I love you guys. It's been amazing coaching this group. We got a lot of good memories.
Between the coach and the team that nearly shocked the sports world.
Live in Times Square, this is Good Morning America.
And Good Morning America, we want to get right to that big news that broke late yesterday. The Russia investigation is over. President Trump's declaring victory after the special counsel concludes there was no Trump conspiracy with Russia.
Take a live look at the White House right now. President Trump is waking up to headlines like these. Mueller finds no Trump-Russia conspiracy. And Mueller finds no Trump collusion.
Before he returned from Mar-a-Lago last night, the president called it a complete and total exoneration.
What the president said is not exactly what the special counsel wrote. Mueller wrote that the report does not exonerate the president on obstruction of justice. It was the attorney general who stepped in to conclude that the president did not obstruct justice. Democrats have questions about that. They're calling for Mueller's full report to be released.
And we have team coverage from the White House, the Congress, and the Justice Department. Our senior White House correspondent, Cecilia Vega, starts us off. Good morning, Cecilia.
Robin, good morning to you. President Trump is up and tweeting, and he is feeling good. This is a cloud that has hung over this White House since the day this investigation began. But now the rallying cry from President Trump and all of his allies, complete and total exoneration. President Trump landing back at the White House, taking another victory lap before the cameras.
I just want to tell you that America is the greatest place on earth. The greatest place on earth. Thank you very much.
Aides say the president is happy and in a great mood. He's also defiant, unloading before boarding Air Force One.
After a long investigation, after so many people have been so badly hurt, after not looking at the other side, where a lot of bad things happened, a lot of horrible things happened, a lot of very bad things happened for our country. It was just announced there was no collusion with Russia, the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. There was no collusion with Russia.
Attorney General William Barr concluding the special counsel found no evidence that the Trump campaign or anyone associated with it conspired or coordinated with Russia in its efforts to influence the 2016 U.S. presidential election. But on obstruction, Robert Mueller explicitly stopped short of clearing President Trump, saying while this report does not conclude that the president committed a crime, it also does not exonerate him. The AG, however, essentially did, saying Mueller's team lacks sufficient evidence to establish the president obstructed justice. For President Trump, it is personal.
It was a complete and total exoneration. It's a shame that our country had to go through this.
And he's now threatening an investigation into the investigation.
It began illegally, and hopefully somebody's going to look at the other side This was an illegal takedown that failed.
Yeah, the president really wanted to get this off his chest. He walked right over to those cameras yesterday. His re-election campaign is already fundraising off of these findings. They sent a message to supporters saying now is the time to fight back. And George, you can bet we will hear the same from President Trump when he hits the campaign trail later this week.
No question about it. Okay, thanks, Cecilia. Attorney General William Barr is the key decision maker here. He reached the conclusion that Mueller did not on obstruction, and he's going to take the lead in deciding how much of Mueller's full report will be released to Congress. We don't know how long that report is or exactly what's in it. Here's what we do know. It was 22 months in the making, cost at least $25 million, involved 19 lawyers, 40 FBI agents and experts, and included 2,800 subpoenas and 37 indictments. Chief Justice Correspondent Pierre Thomas joins us now. Good morning, Pierre.
George, good morning. It's finally over. After thousands of subpoenas, 500 witnesses interviewed, and hundreds of search warrants, the special counsel's final conclusions are now known. No collusion between the Russians and the Trump campaign, but now Democrats are seizing on that question of obstruction of justice, where Mueller decided not to make a final call.
How are you feeling today, now this is over?
Attorney General William Barr emerging late Sunday after spending the weekend writing a letter to Congress laying out the key findings of the Mueller investigation. Robert Mueller himself making a rare appearance before the cameras with his wife, walking past the White House on the way from church. After so many months almost entirely out of sight, a ghost hard at work on the investigation. And now, after nearly 2 years, finally the answer to that number one question: no collusion. Barr in that 4-page letter stating the special counsel's investigation did not find that the Trump campaign or anyone associated with it conspired or coordinated with Russia, and no more indictments. On the issue of whether the president obstructed justice, Barr says Mueller found evidence on both sides of the question. Barr says Mueller made no final call, but the Attorney General chose to and did so definitively, writing, "The evidence developed during the special counsel's investigation is not sufficient to establish that the president committed an obstruction of justice offense." What the special counsel did find, according to Barr, 2 primary Russian efforts to influence the 2016 election, one through disinformation and social media operations designed to sow social discord, and the other through computer hacking operations, obtaining emails from Clinton campaign officials and others. But again, Barr notes, Mueller finding no conspiracy with the Trump campaign, despite multiple offers from Russian-affiliated individuals to assist. As to how much of Mueller's report will now be made public, Barr says he, Rosenstein, and Mueller will make that final call. Sources telling ABC News the process is already underway, with a heavy focus on dealing with both classified and grand jury material, which is normally secret. Michael?
All right, thank you, Pierre. And the reaction from Congress is divided among party lines. Republicans saying it's now time to move on, while Democrats are saying not so fast. They want to see the full report. Senior congressional correspondent Mary Bruce joins us now from Capitol Hill. And Mary, this battle seems far from over.
Michael, this fight is just getting started here on the Hill. Democrats are demanding the full report and the underlying evidence, and they are already calling for the Attorney General to testify soon here on the Hill. The chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, Gerald Nadler, is setting the stage for some intense scrutiny. Take a listen.
The president has not been exonerated by the special counsel, yet the Attorney General has decided not to go further or apparently to share those findings with the public. We cannot simply rely on what may be a hasty, partisan interpretation of the facts.
Now, Democrats are not disputing the no collusion findings, but they are zeroing in on questions of obstruction of justice. Mueller was unwilling to fully exonerate the president, and Democrats now want to know why. While Republicans are declaring this case closed, they're saying, Michael, that it is time to move on.
Well, Mayor, they may want to move on, but Democrats, they're ramping up their own separate investigations.
Yeah, Michael, Democrats are not waiting. While they continue to fight for the Mueller investigation, they are plowing ahead with scores of their own separate investigations looking into everything from conflicts of interest to abuse of power to the president's finances. So the fight for the president and the administration here on the Hill is certainly far from over, Michael.
All right, Mary Bruce, thank you very much. George?
Okay, we're joined now by the president's attorney, Jay Sekulow. Jay, thank you for joining us this morning. I know you've been on this case for a long time and welcomed the news yesterday, but it's pretty clear that Congress is going to continue to pursue these obstructions questions. Is the president prepared to cooperate with Congress on those questions?
Well, I think you have to ask yourself a fundamental question, and I quote from the letter from Bill Barr. The special counsel, George, issued 2,800 subpoenas, executed 500 search warrants, obtained more than 230 orders for communication records, issued almost 50 orders authorizing use of pen registers, made 13 requests of foreign governments for evidence, and interviewed approximately 500 witnesses and found no collusion, no obstruction. So I think the reality is that Congress is wasting the taxpayers' money, frankly, and they should be going about legislating and governing rather than continuing this. That's a prerogative they'll have. But look at the scope and nature of what has been disclosed in this investigation, just with this letter that Attorney General Barr sent, and the scope and nature and depth upon which the special counsel went. And I think at this point it's ridiculous to put people through this.
It was Barr who reached the conclusion of no obstruction, not Special Counsel Robert Mueller. In fact, Special Counsel Robert Mueller, according to Barr, said while this report does not conclude that the president committed a crime, it also does not exonerate him, despite the president's claim that this was total exoneration. How do you respond to that sentence from Robert Mueller?
I think you have to understand what that sentence means. So the Department of Justice is where Bob Mueller works. The special counsel, not an independent counsel, is a special counsel. He's part of the Department of Justice. He determined a series of facts and could not come to, he said it was difficult questions, this was his words, Bob Mueller's, of difficult questions of law and fact, and could not reach a legal conclusion on obstruction. Thus, under the Department of Justice guidelines, what happens is it's moved upstairs, as they say, to the Office of Legal Counsel and to the Deputy Attorney General and ultimately to the Attorney General to review those difficult laws and facts and make a determination. That determination was made that there was, in fact, no basis for obstruction because there was no underlying crime.
Yet the president called this an illegal takedown. What was illegal about this investigation, and who does the president now think should be investigated?
Well, look what happened here. I mean, this investigation starts because of what? Christopher Steele's dossier about Russia collusion. And there's one thing that's unequivocal in here, that the special counsel found no evidence at all of any collusion between the Trump campaign, those associated with the campaign, and the Russian government or Russian operatives. This was started on a document that was unverified, and in James Comey's words, salacious. And the end result of that was a 2-year investigation. Now, it's a good day for America that this is resolved. It's a good day for the country. It's a good day for the president. But we did have 2 years of this, which took a lot of time and a lot of attention away from other things that could be accomplished. And what I'd like to see the Congress do and is work with the president for the next 2 years and get some things done for the American people.
Jay Sekulow, thanks for your time this morning.
Thank you, George.
And we're joined now by Preet Bharara, former U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, author of the new book, Doing Justice, A Prosecutor's Thoughts on Crime, Punishment, and the Rule of Law. Welcome. You just heard Jay Sekulow right there saying, case closed, time to move on.
Well, not quite yet. I think on collusion, the case is closed. I think Bob Mueller is owed a debt of gratitude by all of us. He did a thorough, complete investigation, found no evidence, not sufficient evidence to make a charge in connection with conspiracy relating to interference with the election. On the issue of obstruction, we're sort of not done. It seems to me that it was a very close case. Bob Mueller decided not to make a determination about whether or not a charge could be brought. And you only do that if there's substantial evidence of obstruction.
And he's getting some criticism for that. You called him America's hero yesterday. Some people are saying he punted on that big question. How do you explain that? Was he trying to send that question to Congress?
That's what it appears to be. So my first reaction was it seems to be an abdication of responsibility. You give a case to a special prosecutor, special counsel, for that person to make a prosecutive decision. He did not. It may be that he thought, given how high the stakes were and how sort of close the question was on obstruction, that that's a question best left for Congress. So he punts to Congress, and then sort of Bill Barr runs on the field, takes the ball and runs it in for a touchdown for the president.
And Democrats are criticizing that right there. They're saying, first of all, he had a bias on this question of obstruction. Also questioning whether Rod Rosenstein, who was a witness to the firing and participant in the firing of James Comey, could decide on this question of obstruction at all.
Yeah, it's a little bit odd. But the interesting thing about that is Democrats were in a position to complain about Rod Rosenstein being involved in the case because he had this conflict. They didn't do that because for a year and a half, almost 2 years, they viewed Rod Rosenstein as one of the chief protectors of Robert Mueller during the course of the investigation. So it's a little bit hard for them to complain at this point.
How much of the Mueller report can and should the Congress and the public see? You're a former prosecutor. The Justice Department guidelines say that people who aren't prosecuted should not be tarnished.
Well, the president stands in a different position. The president has the protection of this Office of Legal Counsel opinion that says a sitting president can't be prosecuted. The president also is the only person among the people being looked at who is subject to accountability by the Congress through something called impeachment. Now, some people want to do impeachment, some people don't want to do impeachment, but the fact remains, especially because Bob Mueller seems to, as we've been discussing, seems to have wanted to punt the question to Congress because Congress is in a position to decide, even if there was no clear violation of an obstruction of justice statute, there may have been sufficient evidence for them to make a determination about abuse of power.
Former Solicitor General Neil Katyal said that Congress will win the case of trying to get the entire Mueller report sent to them. Are you that confident?
I'm pretty confident, but what I'm not confident about is how long it's going to take. It may take a very, very long time. What you have now is you have some report of indeterminate length. We don't even know the length. I'm not sure why that is. But you have sort of in the public consciousness this 4-page letter that summarizes it, which is kind of describing it and crystallizing for people what it is and putting in their brains what Bill Barr thinks it is. And it may be a long time before we see what all the details were, and there might be a big disconnect between the two.
Preet Bharara, thanks very much.
Thanks.
Robin?
And George, we're going to bring in our chief legal analyst, Dan Abrams, now for more on all this. So no collusion. So what would be the case for obstruction?
Well, look, I think you need to take a step back and talk about exactly what Preet was saying, which is about the fact the Attorney General is saying there was no obstruction. I don't think there's going to be a case for obstruction unless it's in the Congress. It's not going to be a legal case. It's going to be a political case. But the question becomes, was the Attorney General overstepping his bounds by doing that? The reason you retain a special counsel is so the Attorney General and the Deputy Attorney General, the people who are appointed by the President, do not make this sort of decision about the President. That's why you have a special counsel. So the special counsel gave us the final word on the question of Russia conspiracy. No case. Robert Mueller did not give us the final word on obstruction. It does make you think that he's saying, let's give this to Congress, here are all the reasons for, here are all the reasons against, and then Bill Barr comes in and says, wait, I'm going to take this, even though that's really not supposed to be his role.
There's an intriguing line in his letter as well. He says that even though most of the president's actions dealing with obstruction in the public view, not all of them are. There's still things that the president did related to obstruction that we don't know about.
Yes, that's right. Look, this letter was written very carefully. Even though it was quick and it was fast, the language is really important. And there is no question there is additional material that we don't know about. But you have to be clear. This is a big win for the president. The fact that on the most important issue, collusion, conspiracy with the Russians, Robert Mueller did not find any evidence of that. The president has every right to do a victory lap.
And that was one of the reasons that Bill Barr reached the conclusion there was no obstruction. He's saying if there's no underlying crime, it's much more difficult to have obstruction.
Well, yeah, Martha Stewart would argue with you on that. I mean, she was. I mean, if you remember, the underlying crime was dismissed, and she was just charged with lying to investigators. So keep that in mind.
Dan Abrams, thanks very much. A lot of other stories to get to this morning. Take a look at this on the high seas. Hundreds of cruise ship passengers airlifted to safety after the liner broke down while battling 26-foot waves. Now, one of those rescued passengers is going to join us live.
And Patriot owner Robert Kraft is now speaking out after being charged with soliciting prostitution. We're going to hear what he said coming up, but first, let's go to Ginger. Hey, Ginger.
Hey there, Michael. There is nothing that says spring like this. Giant hail plopping into a pool in Texas. These are the images, and from Arkansas, this is what it sounded like. Now today, we have a shot at seeing that type of hail from Alabama right through Georgia. Your local weather in 30 seconds. First, though, the Select Cities, sponsored by Pampers.
2, 1, and here she is.
From the first loving touch, everything that touches your baby should be this comforting. Pampers Swaddlers, the #1 choice of hospitals, is 2 times softer and wraps your baby in our most premium protection, so every touch is as comforting as the first. Pampers, the #1 choice of hospitals, nurses, and parents.
Temperatures on the milder side today, and that does include your morning upper 40s to around 50 degrees for the early start here. And then at noon today, 59, close to 60 degrees, looking mostly dry at lunchtime today. Chances of rain increasing after 3 o'clock and continuing for the afternoon and evening, but not going to get any heavy rain for today. So the exhibition game, maybe a few showers coming through. Heading home, 49 degrees. Temperatures the remainder of the work week increasing for the home opener on Thursday, 62, 72 Friday.
Time for spring break in Mexico and a dust devil. Look at that. That dust devil right in front of those ruins, and the guy runs right into it.
That says spring.
Yeah, holding on to his hat, though.
That says spring.
That says spring. The dust devil.
Thank you, Ginger. We'll be right back.
Beautiful. One word that bears the weight of thousands. We collect false promises, contorting ourselves to fit inside those letters.